Hey, it's Arcsecond. In this video, I'll cover the 8.13 patch notes, and then we'll be taking a look at the tier list. Starting off, we have Irelia. Irelia has been performing extremely well post-rework, and specifically in the mid lane. So Riot is nerfing her passive. The on-hit damage has been reduced from 10 to 66 to 4 to 48, and the on-hit ratio has been changed from total attack damage to bonus attack damage, which is definitely a nerf with how Irelia wants to itemize. The attack speed has been increased by 10%. However, with Irelia's new kit and playstyle, attack speed isn't quite as valuable. Her W now doesn't scale as well, but is about the same early on. And the E and R mark duration have been decreased by 1 second, but a 5-second window is still pretty good, and I think Irelia will still be strong even with these changes. Kindred has already received a few buffs, but this one is pretty big. Kindred W now heals her based on her missing health, and all that she lost was the ability to reduce monster attack speed. I think Kindred fits the meta pretty well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of her. Lucian is doing well. A lot of it has to do with the AD itemization changes, but I don't think Lucian's that problematic right now. I like seeing Lucian in the bot lane. The base stats, the attack damage growth stat has been reduced to 2.75, and the damage amp to minions on ult has been cut in half. This will definitely hurt Lucian's wave clear and make it a little stronger to hide behind minions when Lucian does activate that R. Pike is doing pretty well, but with a tankier build with Aftershock, and Riot wants to push Pike more towards an assassin, so nerfing the health growth stat, buffing the armor and magic resist growth based up by 1, and this will make Aftershock a little bit weaker. You might start seeing more electrocute Pike. The damage ratios on E and R have been increased by 0.2 bonus attack damage, but the base damage is nerfed. The base damage on E decreased by 20 at max rank, and the base damage on R decreased by 50 at max rank. So we might see more of a hybrid build on Pike, but I still think he'll be pretty good. Riot has split up the patch into simple buffs and nerfs. The first buff goes to Gragas, who could definitely use it, hasn't seen play in a while. The W cooldown is now 5 seconds at all ranks, and Gragas now gains an additional 50 range for his next attack. This is probably more of a top lane buff than jungle buff, but I don't think Gragas can compete in the top lane, and I think jungle is still going to be hard to compete in as well, because Gragas requires all 3 of his abilities, and we're in a level 2 jungle meta. Jarvan, on the other hand, is a level 2 jungler, and now is receiving some decent buffs. His passive now deals a minimum of 20 damage, and the E cooldown has been reduced to 11 seconds at all ranks, and the base damage with 1 point in E has been increased by 20. And so these changes are pretty nice. I wouldn't be surprised if we also see more Jarvan in the jungle. So Jinx and a few other ADCs are receiving some scaling buffs. A lot of these ADCs actually still perform really well if they can get to that late game. The problem is more so in the early game. I would have much preferred to see some AD itemization buffs to their first 2 items. Because now if the meta slows down, or if they do make those item changes, some of these champions might be overtuned. But right now, Jinx rocket crit damage has been increased by 10%, also on Fishbones, and her W zap damage ratio has been increased by 0.2. This also kind of helps her compete with Kai'Sa's W a little bit better. Similar thing with Kalista, her rend has been increased. The ratio has been increased by 5%. Total attack damage at max rank. Kalista's build didn't get hit as hard with the AD itemization changes, so we could see her situationally. Chasm is also getting a scaling buff. Chasm can now stack tier with W, and W, E, and R all gained a 0.1 ability power ratio increase. I don't know if this is the meta for Chasm though, because the games are still very short, and a lot of the AD champions and AD bruisers are really hard to deal with. But maybe in an upcoming meta, I could see Chasm being really strong, but maybe not yet. But I do definitely like these changes. Oriana was nerfed last patch with the shield changes, so this is kind of the compensation buff. Her W has been, the cooldown has been decreased to 7 seconds. This will definitely give her a lot of lane pressure, and I think she's now stronger than she was 2 patches ago. But 2 patches ago she wasn't even that strong, so I think she'll be in a decent spot right now. Riven, her competition is pretty strong right now, so they're buffing her health regen by 1.5 and reducing the cooldown of her ult early, and I really like these changes. I think these are going to feel good. Tristana also receiving a scaling buff. The ratio on E, the bonus attack damage, has been increased basically by 0.44. But again, another change that doesn't help her right now. Tryndamere is doing pretty well though. And then Tryndamere, the E cooldown has been reduced down to 7 seconds. And with the passive, Tryndamere will actually be pretty sticky, and I think is already performing decently well in solo queue, so he might be kind of scary next patch, or this patch. Twitch also receiving a scaling buff, as E now has an additional 0.6 bonus attack damage. Maybe we'll see a Ghost Blade build on Twitch. That could work. But yeah, a lot of the ADCs just need a different meta, and probably some AD itemization changes. Now on to the simple nerfs. Camille is one of the best junglers right now, also one of the best tops, but this change mostly affects her jungle. The base damage on E has been changed and reduced by 15 early and 55 later on. This doesn't really affect top lane Camille, and both top lane and jungle Camille will still be strong. She's been in a very strong spot for a long time. For Mundo, they're nerfing his attack damage on E. I think damage nerfs hurt Mundo more than tank nerfs. If Mundo doesn't have the damage, then it becomes really easy to deal with him. And they're nerfing his E attack damage by 20 at max rank. I think that's kind of a big deal. I don't know if he'll be as strong. So they're nerfing some of the combos that were kind of strong this patch. So with Master Yi now won't be able to clear minions quite as quickly because the Q no longer deals bonus damage to minions. But the cost on Q was reduced by 20 mana, and I think that will feel really good in the jungle actually. Nunu. The attack speed from Blood Boil has been reduced by 5 early and 10 later on, and the ability power ratio has been decreased by 20. You can gain some of these stats back with AP, but the ability power one is going to be hard to reach. There is a Predator AP Nunu build, but the combination, that's not why this is being nerfed. So Nunu will definitely be a little weaker overall. Some of the tanks top are being nerfed. Or the base health regen is being nerfed by 2 per 5, and the W flame width and length is being decreased by 50. That would definitely make his laning phase less oppressive, but Ornn will still have his great kit and will still be a great pick for most team comps. Since the E damage, the target's maximum health damage is being reduced by 2 early, then scales back up to 8. The ult now grants 5 less stats, and there's no longer the Time Warp tonic combo. Not too big of nerfs. I think Sinch will still be fine even after these changes. Taric is also comboed with Master Yi. The E damage is being reduced by max rank by 35 and by 15 early. The armor ratio increased by 0.2 though, and then the cooldown on R is being increased by 20 at all ranks. I think this is really good. I think this is the main problem with the combo. I think this is a good place to nerf Taric. So now Vladimir and Zoe, I thought these two champions were getting bigger nerfs. But now Vladimir's E, the damage ratio is only being decreased by 0.2. And this will hurt Vladimir's bot lane more so than his mid or top. But mid and top, he's still extremely strong in those two roles. Kind of same thing with Zoe. Total damage ratio on W is decreased by 0.1. And the movement speed duration on W is 1 less at max rank, but early on it's basically the same. So really small changes, and with the Irelia nerfs, I think Zoe's definitely the best mid in the game right now. Here we have a Rageblade nerf. This might be partly to target Kai'Sa, but this also hurts her competition. Kai'Sa will probably still be the best, but the percent attack damage per stack and the ability power per stack is decreased from 4 down to 2.5. Don't like this change too much. I would have also liked the Kai'Sa nerf. Bigger Kai'Sa nerfs and Zoe and Vlad nerfs all here together. And this also hurts other champions who kind of rely on this this item. I was pretty excited for this once I heard that they were buffing the Domination style, but these changes are pretty insignificant. On a few trees, you gain an extra 2 ability power, like 1 attack damage. On Resolve, you only gain 1 ability power and 0.5 attack damage. I still think Conqueror Resolve is a lot stronger than Domination Resolve, or like Precision Resolve, and so I think there'll still be an imbalance here, and I would like to see an additional buff to the Domination tree, or at least an additional 1 AP. Hail of Blades also being buffed again. Still don't know if it's a good. Might see it on Kindred. Maybe it needs one more buff. But yeah, auto combat cooldown down to 4, and time between attacks up to 2. Unsealed Spellbook actually hasn't been seeing play in a while. It's a scary rune. It's hard to balance though. This buff is decent. Hopefully it doesn't become too strong though. A lot of the inspiration tree is really hard to balance because the runes are so unique. This is one of the big issues with the game though. Now we're on to the early game Snowball. A lot of games are over by 15 minutes right now, and really pushes a lot of champions out of the meta. But I don't like how this is being addressed. So they're reducing death timers early, and I think that just actually makes it harder to carry, to like solo carry. And then also it's a buff to TP, and I don't quite like the game style that it promotes. So I don't like this change too much. And then same with bounties. The math is here is kind of weird. I'd almost prefer if bounties pretty much didn't exist or reworked, because when you're coming back, you also want to target the weaklings. It's not the best strategy to target the person with all the gold, because they're often the hardest to deal with, and it just isn't as worth it. And all loss is often lost if the enemy team is ahead as well. So it doesn't fit the comeback playstyle. And also this, with how this math is now, because it's so much gold, it might also promote a kind of passive style, which would slow down the game, but not in a fun way. And here we kind of see, this is where I'd like to see a lot of the early Snowball changed, and that's through the like objectives. Can buff turrets. The gold reward is now only 50. This will slow down the game, but this also emphasizes the other objectives more that have really sped up the game, because now there's Scuttle, Rift Herald, and like the dragons are really strong. And so a lot of champions who can't contest as well have really been pushed out of the meta. And also with the level 2 jungle meta, that's kind of where a lot of the issues are coming from. Also a little bit from the runes, like Resolve Secondary is hard to come back against. But yeah, I'd much rather see weaker objectives besides the turrets. Maybe nerf Scuttle, and then I have some proposed Rift changes that I'd like to see. But yeah, I don't think these are that fun of changes. This one's good though, the jungle change. Cinderlog, Balmy Cinder, and Talisman can now finish off non-buff arch monsters, and this will speed up the clears of some of these junglers. I could definitely use it, so this is a nice change. There's no instant feedback, hard to have an inappropriate name, some bug fixes, and the God King skins. So not bad. I would definitely like to see more of the problem areas of the meta really touched more next patch, with the early game Snowball, itemization, a lot of the problem champions, gold funneling, stuff like that. I think those still need a lot of work, but overall it was a start. Hopefully we see more next patch. Now onto the tier list. Now it's finally updated, and I added some recommended champs that I recommend for the majority of players, as this tier list applies a little bit better at like Diamond Plus once the champions are more important basically when climbing. So we added this section. For bands like Zoe's definitely top tier, Camille's still top tier, Rengar has really been popping up, so Lakiya still think Irelia is good, Kaisa. Champions like Talon, Graves, and Chao, some level 2 junglers are pretty strong. So some of the AD bruisers top. Aatrox has come a long way. There's a rank 3 in Korea who mains Aatrox. Aatrox has really fit the meta well. Can play him before he gets reworked, but I'm pretty sure the rework should probably be strong as well. But yeah, I think that just about covers it. I hope this was helpful, and thank you so much for watching.
With